I admit I'm starting to get a little nervous. And I told the doctor, the surgeon point blank, I have a 2-year-old granddaughter that I want to watch grow up.
See? Good. Even though we don't have any swings for her at Mountain View,
That's
it's
right.
okay. You still want to watch her.
We're still working. We're still working on that one. I have a pickleball court there now.
Yeah, I know.
They let me
That's
watch
pretty
what
great.
happened.
Yeah.
We
That is my
got that
favorite
thing
part.
so on target, and then they put
I
a
actually
suction
bought
on the eye, and
A pickleball set
and he had a countdown
for
of
my
about
wife for
15
Christmas.
seconds.
It's in the closet.
Yeah.
Really?
It takes all the incisions for insertion to allow.
That's right.
Well, they
Valentine's
put
is
in,
coming, right?
they put the IV in you and everything. They do the whole thing. They mildly
Hey,
sedate you.
go
It
play
takes
local
longer
pickleball.
to get everything set up and
Sounds
go
awesome.
quicker than it does. I mean,
I can give her
I was
the
done
set.
in
Doesn't mean I have to
15
go play
Oh,
it.
you
No
didn't
idea
get
it was that
it?
fast.
I have
yeah,
to
and
do the
I was
set.
out
Yeah.
of it. I was in
recording?
recovery for about 10 minutes, and they helped me out.
Lindsay,
The car, and
so is it that they? Lindsay, sorry. They replaced the
they,
lens.
they replaced the lens. What they do is
We're
ready to go?
Okay. Incisions, they'll get a prescription lens.
Let's get started
they,
on our short work session.
I
know, I'm having some trouble with this group to the left. These Easterners. All right. Now I've got problem with the people to the south. So it's the city councilors that are the problem. Thank you all for being here. We'll call to order the meeting work session of the Far West City Planning Commission. We will begin this meeting. Steve, why don't you tell us what you need to get the films done?
Skip over me because I know that you need a lot from me.
Yeah, so we're still at the point where we just need you to write what you want to say. Keep it under 2 minutes, and then I'm at the point where I can just, if you want to just do something during the week or whenever, I don't think it's going to take more than, I mean, Ted, how long do we take? Yeah, a couple. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Yeah. So that's about it. If you want to meet somewhere outside, that's fine. It's stinking cold, but whatever you want, just text or shoot me a call, or shoot me a text or give me a call, and we can work out a time. Okay, so get your narratives put together. Let's get that done. I'd like to start getting those posted. Who has number one after the introduction? I don't remember.
Not me. Like 7.
it was in me.
I have it on my other computer.
I combined with Lou. Lou's doing mine.
No. Mine's the addendum, so.
Apparently my daughters have been on here. I have this all written down somewhere.
Well, who's doing what? I'm land use. So, and I think mine's like 5 or 6.
I'll be able to tell you as soon as I get into email here. Well, if we can get number one done, then we can start posting them, because we have the introduction done.
Sure, oh yeah, we're posting each one separately.
Right. And then so they can go in and watch these and get a feel for what a general plan is. The majority of citizens do not understand what a general plan is. In fact, most citizens truly believe that the city has the authority to do anything they want. And they don't really understand that we have to operate under the rule of law. And that can be challenging. Just a side note, we've not seen really much of anything yet at the legislature. I'd feel much better if there was something out there that we were fighting than there not being anything. So I don't know where that's going to go.
Send you a list.
In other words, the silence is deafening.
Well, I really thought they'd hit us on zoning harder than they have, very specifically, and I've not seen anything on that. I have sat in I know the mayor was there. I saw him make some comments. Jolene was there. Monday, I sat through that meeting, as much of it as I had time to. So
I'm concerned. We've got the so far so good thing going, and I don't think it's so good, but anyway, so anything else, Steve? So did we determine who's number one?
I am searching through emails right now.
Oh, here, I'll just put up on the website because we just did, ooh. Learn more.
Well, let's see. Nope.
All right, while we're looking for that, we'll get into the meat of this 30-minute meeting. We are actually fairly closer than I thought we were with what we could propose as an ordinance for the requirements on an M1 zone that is adjacent to a residential zone.
Number 2, sorry, is community vision and character.
That would be me.
And then I'm 3, I guess.
Okay, so we need Darren and Geneva
Put it together.
to
Okay.
get, to hop on that. So, if you're welcome, I can send mine back out. If you want an idea of what to write.
My bullet points were pretty fleshed out, so
Yeah,
mine will probably take a couple minutes. I mean, what are we looking at, about 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah, I don't think I went a minute and a half, did I, Steve?
I just need to do my
Election.
photo stuff. What you're
Well-
putting, it'd be nice to see what you submitted for your portion
So-
of the video.
We're not gonna, we need to understand, we are not going to teach everything relevant to a general plan in videos that would take hours.
And people wouldn't really be that interested.
Right, so we're giving people a taste, and hopefully they will have enough interest to at least scan the new proposed general plan. So, 2 minutes is perfect. And I was told once in advertising, when they send a flyer to your mailbox, they try to get a message on that flyer that you will read in the amount of time it takes you to walk from the mailbox to your garbage can. And so when you see, bold letters and so forth on an ad that comes to your house, that's the reason. They want to catch your attention before it goes in the trash. So that's pretty much what we're doing. We want to catch their attention. In a perfect world, everybody would sit down and read that and give us, well thought out positive feedback on how it might be improved in the real world. I remember, wind things back when we had a house full of small children. Just those hours didn't even exist. So if people call us, ask us questions, be as patient as you can, try to answer them. You can refer them to any of us. If you get a question that maybe you think somebody else could answer better. Geneva's a wealth of knowledge on land use. And Greg is a wealth of knowledge on land use, grading, and so forth as well. So, but any of us would, I'm sure, be happy to help.
Well, our numbers are posted out there anyway on the planning commission's Facebook page, or not the Facebook, but
The point here is we really want the public to participate in this. And hopefully this goes well. So if you'll get with Steve, get those done, and then Steve, let's see if we can't get those first 3 posted, and then we'll go from there. So on the M1 zone, or the requirements in an M1 zone that is adjacent to a residential zone, the only things that I think we can fine tune the rest of this, we need something definitive about lighting. And this is an area that is outside of my expertise. I visited with Josh Blazard. Actually, he called me and he said that's outside of his engineering field.
As they did last week at the meeting, they brought up those things that lighting and noise were.
Lighting and noise. And although we picked 55 dB, we've never measured that. We don't know, what is the ambient noise in the average neighborhood in Far West. And I can't answer that. And so we either need to see if we can't buy or rent or somehow use a dB meter and find out what the dB is at our house so that we can, first of all, so that we have some data we can base this off of. And secondly, so that we can back up what we say. So I don't know if anybody has access. I have never measured.
There's apps to measure decibels. You can just
I
lower
was just gonna ask, is there
decibels.
an app?
Phone.
Yeah.
There's a chart from Yale.edu.
Yeah, measuring it's the easy part.
So suburban area at night. Now let's see, dBA. I gotta make sure I know what I'm reading here. Decibels, A weighted. Okay, so I gotta figure out what this is, but this is saying like a suburban area at night is 40 decibels.
So is 55 the right number? I don't know. This is outside of my skill set.
Well, we started with 55 in the day and 45 at night. And then we just changed it to 55, which is all right with me. I think 55 is still plenty conservative. But there's enough sources that reference 55 that I don't think we're shooting in the dark there.
Okay.
My bigger concern is with the light when we say levels set by the city. I have no idea what that means. When we say not adversely impact an adjacent residential home, I have no idea what that means. I don't think either one of those is, well, the first one says the city's got to do something. The second one is an unmeasurable requirement.
No, and I mean, I had to go with kind of what was discussed in our meetings when I put this together, and this is as close as I could get.
No.
It's not great, but we need to come up with something that can go into an ordinance relevant to this lighting that makes sense.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes.
The simple solution is just describe the light and hope the intensity is good enough. In other words, if you look at it, we tell them that they have to be shielded and directed away from the residential zone. That's easy. That's easy. The light adjacent shall, but when you get into this B and C is where you've got problems. And I don't know, I think we either need to say something that can be measured or not say it at all.
Well, and that's why you'll remember we talked about, Steve talked about, was it Lutz, Steve, or?
Yeah, lumens and lux, they're all different. They're all different interchangeable measurements of foot candles, basically, so.
And what's an acceptable, so if you go out in my backyard on a starry night, a clear night in the middle of the summer, how much light's in my backyard?
That changes every night.
And it changed, and so, you know, should we set something that's lower than what is naturally provided at the lightest time, or should we, I don't know.
You may want to be careful with that. On a moonlit night, there's a lot of light. I mean, that's why when you measure it against ambient, a new moon is very different than a new moon night. I mean, there's a world of difference in them. And I think really the goal would be to come up with a number they could point at the light source from the property line and say, that's too much.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying?
I do, I just don't know how to.
Say, okay, if that light source illuminates more than X at the property line, it's in excess.
And fair enough. But at the property line, I mean, there may be new technology that lights up that site, but does not light up my backyard. How do we measure that? What's the tool and what's the number we set at? Because I don't know.
Well, their light meters that's not high tech. I mean, you can get a light meter. It's just a matter of what is the number. Just like you can measure decibels.
So, and here's a challenge though, on a new moon night, if you hold that light meter out and we set that number below that, that business will be in violation, won't it?
Well, I would think you would want to do it without the moon interfering with the measurement. In other words, you could say, okay, at any point, that light source cannot exceed X at any time, okay? In other words, it doesn't matter if there's, so you're covered. So on it, obviously, when you got a full moon, there's gonna be a lot of light wash, but the statement says it has to be below that level at night at all times from the light source. So, so really what you're doing is putting the requirement that this is the maximum illumination we can meter at the property line on a dark night from your source. You see what I'm saying?
So do we have to write a criteria of how that is measured?
Weird part is I looked at like surrounding cities and
Yeah, there's gotta be some,
there is not. It's like
oh, there
sucky
isn't? You mean
verbiage.
they dance around
I
it
looked
too?
too, and there's no, it's more like ours. It's like just, you have to just keep it from causing problems away from the property.
Your light source has to make your neighbors feel warm and fuzzy.
Driving by the Amazon facility at night, they actually did a good job down there. It's all on their property and it doesn't project off.
Well,
So
and I wonder if what we're discussing here isn't really a moot point in this day and age. Yeah.
As long as we're
I think
telling
it should
them that
just be
directionally the light can't
No,
hit, right?
yeah.
No, nobody's gonna be
Right,
bouncing
just-
light off the asphalt to the
You
point
just pulled a
where.
good one from, where'd you say, Summit County
Salt Lake.
or Salt Lake County? That says, lighting shall be used to illuminate any off-street parking shall be so arranged as to direct light away from adjoining premises and from street. No light source, light bulb, fluorescent tube, or other direct source of light should be illuminated in the parking areas, should be visible beyond the property line or any off-street parking areas.
Yeah.
So they really don't say
There's no
an
ambient
amount.
light measurement. Yeah.
Well,
They just, I'm fine with
And
that.
if we could get away from an amount, I think we'd be much happier.
well, if you have a set amount, then they're gonna be beating their heads against the wall, trying to find the light writing, sorry.
Well, and you always get that one neighbor who finds that one spot in his backyard.
The meter there.
Yeah, and he has his meter and the city gets called and called and called.
So why not just live with A? Outside lighting at or near the property line between an M1 zone and residential zone shall be shielded, one, and then directed away from the residential zone.
Okay, is shielded definable?
I honestly think we should define this at the residential side and say that no direct light should be visible at any point on a neighboring residential zone. Cause that basically tells them
It points it away from the property.
you're,
That implies.
that implies
shielded.
that you're
Right.
shielding and moving all light from,
Yeah, I
direct
agree.
light from reaching the residential property. And that doesn't leave any room for discussion if they say, well, it's pointed away, but the light bulb is still visible to the property, the residential
I like
property
the
owner.
word direct light.
Yeah.
Not, because indirect light clearly will be, but
Yeah.
So lighting shall be directed away from residential zones, residential property lines.
well, doesn't A say that?
Yeah, so I can't remember who, but I've been questioned on the word shielded. What does shielded mean? And I think and I wish I could remember who I had the conversation with, but it is somewhat of an archaic statement. That's what the city used to do 30 years ago. They'd come out and they'd put an unsightly, some type of shield on the light if you complained that the street light was shining into your house. I don't think they do that anymore. I really think the technology is such that we could simplify this.
Can Greg send you some of this verbiage and
Here, I just wrote it
see?
down.
Oh.
Try that one. Take a look at that one and see what you think.
Lighting used to illuminate any off-street parking, but do we want to be that specific? Off-street parking?
Well, no,
Or outside areas shall be, sorry, I should have kept reading. Be so arranged to direct light away from adjoining premises. And you could say something like arranged and pointed downward or shall not reflect off
Well,
property lines.
do we care how they point it as long as it's not?
So read A again without shielded.
Okay.
Outside lighting at or near the property line between an M1 zone and any residential zone shall be directed away from the residential zone.
I think that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay,
Then get rid of B.
I really have nothing to say here, but can I give you an example?
yes,
At my house, okay, on the north side of my house is that little 3-acre lot where they store some RVs and they have a big barn building for doing work inside. And they have a light on the south side of it that shines across through a vacant lot and into my bedroom window. Now, kind of the issue with that is there's also homes on the north side of that property that might well see from that light. So saying pointed away from residential might be two-faced if the light is a parking lot light and there's no walls or buildings to stop it from going both directions.
So you've got to understand that this light is in combination with an 8-foot fence.
Yeah, this one comes over that 6-foot fence they have.
Well,
It's on the top of a building.
Yeah.
and it's directed away.
No,
It's
it's directed, it's on the building, directed towards the property that they have that extends to the south.
I guess my question is, if you have an 8-foot fence and that light is directed away from the residential property line,
If
what
I
would
had
be
a
the
neutral
problem?
fence, it wouldn't come in my window, but I don't have a solid fence, but my fence is only,
You're saying you can see the light bulb,
I can see the light bulb.
so you're getting direct light from that light bulb, right?
But these lights should be around the perimeter between the residential, shining towards the building.
And my point in that case is that if they do that, then the homes on the north side of the lot will see those lights pointing towards them because there's homes on both sides.
That is the reason for using the word shielded. You could have a light bulb, a light directed away, but you could still see the light
Still
bulb.
get direct
And
light.
hence the reason for shielded.
So maybe you should add the word shielded then.
Can I point out, it says outside lighting at or near the property line, so that to me implies any lighting along that property line needs to face the other way. Yeah, what about the ones on the building?
Right, exactly. That's worded.
We mentioned
Right.
that too, those have to
I
be
think they can
directed
be
down
directed down.
as well.
Yes, I agree with that.
Can I try this one?
yeah, give it a shot.
Lighting used to eliminate any outside areas shall be so arranged to direct light away from adjoining premises. Other direct sources of light used to eliminate shall not be visible beyond the property line.
Yeah,
And but the
close,
problem is
yeah.
visible. I can see a light through the blinds in the parking lot. That's visible.
Light source. The light is gonna be visible.
You can make it light source, we can do whatever we want, so I just,
Visible.
Yeah, always.
I mean, I look out my front window and I see Toad's driving range,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, we're going to see, there's a difference between seeing light and light that's intrusive. The challenge here is how do you measure intrusive? And I don't know how you go about doing
I
that.
mean, they can put a shield around it, they can put a 3-sided shield around it, make the light straight down. There's a lot of ways to deal with light.
Okay. I think I've got the spirit, sorry, Lou, of where we're going. But we need to come up with the words, and that's a challenge. You had a comment, Lou.
Well, I know you're saying it's archaic. I do like the word shielded because it protects the light source. It covers the light source. I like the direction. In other words, I really like the way you've got A.
And I liked A too. I wish I could remember who called me and questioned me on the word shielded. They didn't like the word shielded. And they wanted a definition. What does shielded mean? And
Decided to direct it direct to the ground.
Shielded means?
That's what you could make it.
Oh.
You can
yeah.
call it whatever you want.
Then
I-
delete
I
the
don't
word
think that's a
shielded and just.
definition.
You can,
Keep
I
the
mean, you
rest
can
of
write the
it as you
definition
want.
for it.
Yeah.
So you could use shielded so that it directs light to the straight down.
The reality is, unless they've got an open bulb up there, most light fixtures are shielded. They direct, you know. So it's an issue of where the light is pointed and covering the light source.
So I just get
That's
rid
what you can cover it with a three-side, you know, on the side of a building. You come out, create a three-sided thing, you don't see the light source, you look straight down. The light shines down on the side of the building and can flood out the sides of the building, but it's illuminated up next to the building and not out farther.
So most outdoor building fixtures are down anyway these days. It's
Sure.
Shielded bar with the,
And like I said, we do have to put this in ordinance somehow. I'm not overly concerned about this myself because I really think most, if not all, commercial businesses have reached a point. The engineering is sufficient. They're tired of having these calls. I think this is self-correcting. Nonetheless, we still have to come up with the right words.
My comment to them last week too was that in 90% of these areas, they are not next to residential things like that.
This will be rare.
So let's,
That's, so I would encourage us to simplify this, right? I'm just saying, if I could put myself in the shoes of a residential owner that's gonna be next to one of these properties, the only thing that's really gonna bug me is if I've got a light bulb shining in my window, right? Or on my property, or, you know, that's constantly on. So if we could allow the property developer, the property builder to have whatever freedoms they want, all they have to do is ensure that I don't see any light bulbs on my property, then they have the freedom to design it however they want. And we have a much easier way of saying you're in violation because I can stand on the residential property and see a light bulb. You need to fix that. Doesn't matter how, but fix it. I just think if we worded something like, you know, any light source on the exterior of the building, of any buildings or perimeter, right? I mean, we can wordsmith this, but any outside lights shall not be directly visible to any adjacent residential property. And if we just said something simple like that, then that puts the onus on them to, you know, put the lights low enough or shield them enough or locate them enough so that I can't see a light bulb from an adjoining residential property.
Are you looking strictly at the light bulb or the light itself?
Well,
Light bulb. Light source.
Direct light, right? I mean, we can say direct light from the light source, parentheses, bulbs, sign it. Well, I mean, you know, so, I don't know. What about signage, right? What about stuff
Well, you
like,
got signage, then you got billboards and all that other stuff you gotta look at too with lighting.
I think we're making it too complicated.
and
We've got
so,
a sign ordinance already, that's not.
yeah.
Hey, that's all effective.
Well, and we can stay, as Lou has suggested, with AE, which I don't think is bad. But we're going to have to be able to justify shielded. So,
What if you just eliminate the word shielded?
well, I've done that, but then we have it's come up in multiple things as so we need to start our meeting. Young man in the corners, are you here for school?
he's my son.
Oh, you're here for your dad?
He got stuck playing basketball
I
at
was
the
gonna say, I thought
church.
maybe he was supposed to be over.
Dude, you better get ice cream when this is over. You know what happens if you're here for school? You have to come up and make a comment at the end of the meeting.
Uh-oh.
He's like, I wanna go back to the car. Can I have the keys?
You didn't know what you were getting
You
into.
got a little lower in the chair.
I still
Yeah.
might invite you up for comment. We'll have to see. So if I was you, I'd pay attention to what happens. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. I'll call to order, without my hammer even, the meeting of the Far West City Planning Commission at 7:01. We appreciate all of you there. We'll begin our meeting with an opening ceremony. Geneva will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Lou will give us an opening prayer. If you'll all rise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be here this evening, and we are grateful to be citizens of this country and also citizens of the Far West City. We ask thee to please bless us during this meeting, that we will be blessed with good judgment and clear heads, that we will fairly and clearly consider the issues on the agenda and make decisions which will benefit the citizens of our great community. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is report from the city council.
Hello. At our city council meeting last Thursday, we received a report from the planning commission. Geneva represented you. We approved the reappointment of the assignments to the planning commission and approved the chair and vice chair. I don't know how much detail you want, so like.
Less is more as a general rule.
Perfect, like just this good stuff. We
Anything
did
that usually
approve.
doesn't pertain to us.
Okay, we approved the conditional use permit for Troy Galloway for the accessory building, as well as vacating the public utility easement for Jared and Tani Hadley as recommended by the commission. We also approved a conditional use permit for Douglas C. Ross for his accessory building. We approved amending the general plan to accommodate the M1 zone on the Papa George property. We also approved the request of a rezone of the Papa George property with the conditions that were provided by the planning commission. And there was discussion that that would be enforced initially by development agreement, since it's not actually in the M1 zone yet. But Mr. Watson was aware of those conditions and accepts those. We discussed mayor compensation, approval of some purchase of trucks, and approved our minutes from January 6th. That's probably all that involves you guys, is that we did discuss Christmas lighting budgets, so I don't know if that involves you, but, and then we reported on assignments, so.
Super. Any questions?
Are you having fun?
Tell it, Janelle.
Yeah.
I would have said that
You're okay.
wrong, so thank you. Janelle is our representative now, so we appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
And please give any input through our meetings that you'd like, but you do have to come to the podium when we're in our normal meeting, so. I'm a stickler for that. All right, the next item on our agenda is recommend to the city council action on the request for final approval of Parkside Estates subdivision located at approximately 1995 North, 2000 West. Why don't you give us just a brief overview, come to the podium, name and who you represent, and just a quick overview to remind us what's going on.
Absolutely. Brian Bayless with Nelson Homes. So we've got, we've come before you now a few times, and we hope to be in front of city council here shortly and begin construction, maybe March timeframe. We've got our contractor lined up and ready for that, but we've been working on this project now for, oh man, it's been probably 18 months. We had some UDOT access points that we needed to get permits for on 2000 West, which is now in place and totally taken care of. And then we kind of had to figure out, yeah, there was just a lot of kind of those types of things that just took a little bit of time to try to figure out. We've since acquired the property to the south from Randy Marriott. Originally, we didn't have that, and now we've acquired that piece. So we resolved a lot of the concerns along the way. Those things just take time, as you probably all know. So we've been working on it for a while. One of the changes most recently that took place is that parcel number 1, as you see there, remainder parcel number 1. We've laid that out, and in our last version of plans that we brought before you, it kind of gave you a conceptual layout so that you kind of knew where the road network would be located and how those lots would fit in there and conform to the zoning ordinances. But based on your guys' feedback, we took that, we removed those lots from the project. That will be a second phase, and it's clear that those lots will not be permitted, until we have additional access points to the property. And so that's kind of laid out, but that's another one of the important considerations, because we will continue to own that into the future. And then once that additional access point connects up, then we will we will be sold out of the community for all intents and purposes. So we do have a longer term interest in this property.
So this was tabled because of the maintenance issues on parcel A, B, and C. Can you tell us how that was resolved?
Yeah, absolutely. So because of that remainder parcel number 1 that we've got on there, we have a vested interest in making sure we understand what happens on our main entrance there. And so our objective right now would be and we presented a landscape plan as part of our application. I'm not sure if are you controlling the mouse? Oh, there we go. Ted's got it. So our landscape plan would be to reduce the maintenance of that to the extent possible by putting in xeriscape. So there would be rock, some boulders, kind of crushed gravel, and then some boulders, and then trees along that park strip. That's good for several reasons in this instance. It is expensive for us as the developer, but it obviously reduces the overall water requirements that are necessary for that project or for the landscaping. But it's also much lower maintenance. And so we're not burdening our residents of the community, the 30 lots, and then future another 21 lots. And so that would be the reason why we would want to do that. And we control that remaining 21 lots, which will be developed at some point in the future. And so it is our objective to hold on to that as Nelson Homes.
And so you'll maintain the responsibility to maintain that property, is that
Absolutely.
correct? Okay.
This will be an HOA, right?
Yes,
Not necessarily.
it will. Yep.
Okay, just curious.
Yep.
How are you going to landscape parcel C? Or cover it, or what are you gonna do with parcel C?
Yeah,
Go down.
if you zoom down, you can kind of see what we're proposing. So we'd have white vinyl fence on either side, and then we'd have compacted road base so that you could access the pasture parcel from behind. That's a great question, though,
So
Commissioner Best.
basically, no maintenance once it's in place,
Yeah.
or minimal maintenance.
Minimal. Yeah, that's the objective.
No, speaking from the audience. So, just so you know, there's been a lot of debate, I shouldn't say debate, a lot of question relevant to having an HOA that doesn't really benefit specifically the homeowners. So just understand that any action that takes place tonight, do not construe as approval of that HOA. We're approving the development of the property or not, depending on the action but the HOA is not at issue, okay? Okay, any questions for Nelson
We don't
Homes?
have rights over the HOA. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what the city council is gonna do with it, so it's not something that we're considering in this meeting is my point.
One thing I'd like to,
You're responsible for the parcels.
Right.
one thing I'd like to consider is who's maintaining the storm drain retention basin? Is that gonna be the homeowners or is that gonna be the city? So it's being donated to the city? Okay.
Yeah, that will be maintained by the city.
My second question is that for this phase, or is that gonna accommodate phase 1 too?
Yeah, no, it has to accommodate our first phase, so that has to be built in this first phase.
So you'll have a second detention basin in this, parcel 1?
I misunderstood your question.
Okay, that will accommodate parcel 1 as well?
Yes.
I wasn't clear when I asked.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. So that's sized appropriately and piped with proper, conveyance systems to get it to that detention basin. Yep.
Other questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone on the public that would care to comment on this? Ed, I'm going to allow you to speak from your chair if you'd like. All right.
If you suddenly see my head disappear, then.
If you fall down, we'll drag you out.
Okay.
Please state your name and where you live.
My name is Ed Raymer. I live at 1931 North, 2000 West. I know we discussed some of this in the previous meetings that they had for this. One of the questions I have, and it came to mind because I got my irrigation shareholders meeting email or card. On the north side of the section that houses the access road is the Lee Ditch irrigation, and I'm kind of wondering what is being done to make sure that the irrigation is maintained. And I don't know if I have the right to ask that because I'm not the irrigation company, but my water comes in from some of that area and I want to understand what they're doing because it goes from there then across the canal to a lot of people on the south.
So they do have to maintain the irrigation
Okay, cool.
in some form.
That works.
Okay.
And we want to give them the ability to design it and make it work. We don't want to tell them they can't do anything, but we want it to work. So that's cool. That's the only question I have.
Ed, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the public that would care to comment? Ed forgot something.
Oh, sorry. My wife, since I'm already up here. The fencing that we talked about, that I asked about in the first meeting was in light of the property going way back and building along my property that follows it all the way to the canal. But that section marked parcel 1 from the bigger picture is what covers most of my property. So I guess my interest would be from the street, 2000 West, till they're done building, it would be fenced. And after that, then what happens? Since they're not actually building right next to our property at that point.
Say that again?
So
Yeah, you lost
if you
me.
look at their map and you follow the inlet to the development,
Yeah. You're talking
I'm
about
sure
the
they'll
existing
fence that. But as it goes, once it reaches the last lot and they're not developing parcel 1, I was wondering whether or not they're doing any changes to the fencing or any of that area since they're not developing it yet.
Why don't we have you sit down and let's let them answer it?
Thanks.
So you state your name and who you represent, please.
Mike Flood, I'm with Nielsen Land. I'm here with Brian. I appreciate both those questions and I can answer them pretty simply. With regards to the irrigation, Jim Flynn, our engineer with Hanson Associates, has done a yeoman's job in designing how we will continue flow from 2000 to the point where the water goes under the Willard Canal. There's a lot of users on the west side of the Willard Canal that still use this ditch, or there's a couple ditches through there, and these are all have been accommodated in pipe structures and conveyance systems. With regards to fencing, the landscape plan does show from 2000 West to 2100 West there of a white vinyl fence along the Ramers property boundary. And then on the other side of 2100 West, where it continues west along our southern border, we will plan on putting minimally a chain link fence there. So there will be a divider between his agricultural property that will, the property he currently has and the remainder parcel that we will own. If we choose to put a vinyl fence there, we might do that just as it may look a little bit better. But I think our minimum standard and requirement is to at least put a chain link fence to divide the two, and we plan on doing that.
And that would all be part of the approval of parcel
Yep, it would be
1.
part of completion of phase 1, yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay,
Quick question.
Thank you.
The irrigation pipe is going to be run along a property line? Or
Yeah,
how is
currently,
it gonna work?
I don't have a pointer, but if you look at the northbound border of the property we bought from Randy Marriott or Westside Investments, you can see kind of a fence line showing going into the remainder parcel there. I don't know if you can see that fence, that kind of, right there, right below where you're, yes. That's the old fence line and it stops. There's kind of a berm there, and that's actually where the water is conveyed right now. And it's a pretty shallow, and then they've put dirt over the top. We're moving that pipe, we're repiping that, and we're moving that. Jim, are we moving that do you remember if we're moving to the south boundary, or are we running it in the road and then out? That's right. So we're running it in an easement. You can see the dotted line he's put there. That is an easement, a 10-foot irrigation easement where that pipe will be relocated and run along the south boundary so it can't be disturbed. And we usually, when we do that, we'll put the pipe about 3 or 4 feet off of the property line, because the last thing we want is for fence posts to be driven into it. And it gives us the ability to put it right in the middle of where 2 fence posts would be on the perpendicular fence, so that it kind of stays in between. Pardon me? I believe is it RCP or HCP? I believe it's RCP or RCP, yes.
Super.
So the idea is to continue the flow, just move the ditch or move the pipe to the south, so.
Does that answer the Raymer? Stay here for just a second.
Leave one more question. Will we have any input into asking for access from that line to our property? Because right now, my access comes south on 2000, and then I flood irrigate from 2000 out. And so with you moving it to close to my borderline, it would be nice if I could have some input in, and I understand if it's my cost, head gates that let me flood my field.
That's something I don't think I'm prepared to answer. I think there's probably a couple people that have to be consulted on
Okay.
that. A ditch master.
That's a not pertinent to this meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. That's
so,
something we could talk about
right,
later.
you guys work that out.
Thank you.
So would you state your name again,
And
please?
it's Mike Flood with
Mike
Nielsen
Flood.
Land.
Very good,
Yeah, so
Mike. Thank you.
FLOD.
Okay, that's the word, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, seeing no more public comment, what is the desire of the planning commission?
I move that we recommend to the city council action on the request for final approval of the Parkside Estate subdivision located at approximately 1995 north and 2000 west.
And that action is to approve, Lyle?
Yes, to approve.
Okay, motion by Lyle to approve or to recommend approval. Is there a second? Second by Geneva. Further discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That motion carries. We'll make that recommendation to the city council. The next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes dated January 13th, 2022. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes dated January 13th, 2022.
Motion by Steve to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Greg. Further discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Report on assignments. Darren,
Nothing to report today.
Greg,
Nothing today.
Geneva,
Nothing.
Lou, Steve, good, Lyle,
Nothing.
and Chair has nothing. That is just, well, we kind of covered that in our other meeting. Now is the time in our meeting where we'd allow public comment. If someone wants to make a public comment, come on up to the mic. No hiding behind your hood. Come up to the microphone. You got to come tell us your name, what you think of the meeting.
Should we let
Come a little faster. Dragon's not going to make it better.
And you can't take more than 20 minutes.
You have a 20-minute limit, so talk fast.
State your name and address.
Name and address.
So my name is Charles Hurd and I live at 2367 North, 2650 West.
Good, you still know our address.
And,
So what was your first name again?
Charles,
Charles. Is that correct? Charles, that's a great name. What do you think of the planning commission's meeting?
Pretty boring.
I don't know.
He's laughing, so it must be a good
Yeah,
thing.
did a good job.
Covered it in his lap.
Okay. Charles, thank you very much for being with us. You can sit down. I'll entertain a final motion.
I motion we adjourn.
Motion by Geneva to adjourn, second by Greg. Further discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. And Mackenzie, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
As
You
always.
all be safe and have a nice evening.